I see closed captioning is happening. I just heard recordings happening, and is AI summarization happening? This is great. Thank you, Nicole. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us tonight here in person and on Zoom. We're so fortunate to be able to gather freely this way, and I never take it for granted. This meeting's being video recorded, and it will be publicly available on V-MCC's YouTube channel shortly after the meeting. We will come to order. First, we will determine if there's a quorum, which takes 25 council members minimum. You contributed to quorum if you're a voting member. Would everyone in the room and on Zoom who's a voting member, please raise your hand. And on Zoom, use your emoji raise hand and keep it up until we ask you to put it down, please. So we're showing right now that Gary, Bong, Craig, David, Rocky, and Wendy are not voting members. Is that correct?
That's not correct, because I know those people are members, or some of them anyway, so.
Okay, well.
Can't raise my hand on the reaction thing, but I'm raising my hand on the video.
Okay, is that David?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you,
this is
David.
Wendy and I'm a voting member as well.
Okay, thank you.
For some reason, the Zoom is not allowing me to raise my hand.
I understand. Is Rocky? Rocky is Craig? Are you there? Are you a voting member? He is a voting member, right?
Got my hands up there.
Oh, it is. Okay, I see. So, how many do you count on Zoom? Jen?
Wendy, Rocky, Gary, and David, then there's 14.
Yeah.
Makes 26.
26.
There's 12 in the room. 13. Oh, thank you. Here's 20. So 27.
27, okay, thank you. Put your hands down now. You can put your hands down now. Thank you all very much. And thank you for coming tonight. It's so important that we have a quorum so we can conduct our formal business as an organization. We have some important business tonight. Our minutes will be taken by Secretary Janet Rakovic. Thank you, Jan. First, please bear with me as I present a brief technical overview. This pertains to both Zoom and in-person meeting attendees, but some of it is just for Zoom. Like if you're participating remotely, sign on with your phone or your computer, but not both. If you're on Zoom, please stay muted unless you're speaking. If you have signed on with anything other than your first and last name, please change it on Zoom so we can know who you are. For Zoom attendees, please be advised that questions on chat may not be answered. However, if someone wishes to take on the task of speaking for the person chatting, they're welcome to do that. The democratic rules of order can be found at the website given in the agenda. It's https://www.democraticrules.com, and a flow chart and downloadable summary of the rules can be found there in the right margin. For those in the room, we have copies of the democratic rules of order over on the table. You can borrow if you wish. Please return them after the meeting if you do so. Please raise your hand to speak to a motion or participate in open discussion, and lower your hand after you've been recognized or if you no longer wish to speak. When you raise your hand, it may also help if you state in the chat, if you're on Zoom or in person, if you're here. Well, if you're on Zoom, say in chat that your hand is raised if you can. And if you're speaking in person, please identify yourself the first time you're recognized to speak. Again, welcome. And is there someone who would be willing to read a land acknowledgement? Pick one of these and read it. Someone from council. Thank you. I have several to choose from.
Why do I vote?
Well, you just pick one and read the whole thing. Or five there.
Okay. We acknowledge and honor the tribes of Washington State as political entities. We commit to respecting the laws and treaties and sovereignty under the United States Constitution, Article 6. We commit to taking actions of reconciliation, working with the tribes to identify ways to steward the land, restore habitats, and fostering practices that will benefit future generations.
Thank you very much, Noel. I'll say a few words at the outset about our rules of conduct. The council is committed to conducting its meetings in a civil, respectful, and courteous manner. We expect all participants to demonstrate common courtesy and respect toward fellow islanders and guests. As we build our new council, we are dedicated to creating a safe and healing space to address our shared interests. Rudeness, personal criticism, and ridicule, including in online chat contributions, are not acceptable and will not be tolerated. Please keep your remarks focused on the issues, not on individuals. We're here because we're stronger together. Now, as is our custom, please let's have a show of hands to demonstrate intent to honor these rules of conduct. Thank you. Our first formal order of business is to finalize the minutes of a couple of previous council meetings. The first one is the council meeting of August 21st, 2025. This was sent out in the minutes, so you will have had a chance to review it. Nicole, can you bring up those minutes on the screen, please?
Yeah, okay. We'll look about that one.
Does anyone know right offhand if they have any corrections to the minutes of our last regular council meeting?
Oops.
That's the budget. Should be clickable on our agenda, Nicole.
Is there one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one.
It's the other one. There we go. We won't take a lot of time going through this line by line, but I did want to bring it up in case anyone wants to reference anything in it. Are there any additions or corrections to that agenda? We're talking about the August 21st one, Nicole. You want to just scroll down briefly? Oh, this is the agenda. If I'm sorry, we're having a little technical difficulty with that, but if there are no motions to revise the minutes, I'll look for a motion to accept them. Do I see such a motion? Just move. Is there a second? Second by Evan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes of August 21st, 2025, please raise your hand. Keep them up, holy count, please. And can we see Zoom again, please?
Yeah.
You're still voting on Zoom. I have 18 in favor. Is that what you get? And all those opposed? You can put your hands down now on Zoom. Unless you want to vote opposed. And opposed, the motion carries. We've adopted the minutes of August 21st. The second one we'll turn to is our special meeting of September 3rd, 2025. Do we have those minutes, Nicole? There we go. You also will have had a chance to review these, but here they are. The special meeting had to do with the King County's strategic climate action plan and some amendments that the council ultimately voted to send to them suggestions to adopt. And they're included in these minutes. Does anyone have any revisions or additions to these minutes of our special meeting of September 20 or September 3rd? I'd like to see the Zoom attendees, please. Also, could you take a screenshot of that, please, Nicole?
What's that?
It's a screenshot of the Zoom attendees. Does anyone have any revisions? If not, is there a motion to adopt these minutes? Jen, Mike, and Evan seconded. Is there any discussion? Not all those in favor, please raise your hand. You have 19. I don't customarily vote as chair unless it's needed to break a tie. Or 20. Okay, you can put your hands down now. Hi, welcome. Please have a seat. Are there any votes in opposition of accepting the minutes of September 3rd? Seeing none, the motion carries. Next, we'll finalize the addition for this council meeting. Is that what you have up there? Yes.
Yeah.
If someone would like to revise this or add something, now's your opportunity. And I would just like to remark that in one past meeting, I forgot this step. And it's very important that for democratic process, that there's an opportunity for the council to revise the agenda. So let's everyone help keep this on track in that regard. Is there any motion to revise it? Jen? Oh, you moved to approve it? It's been moved to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Julie, second. Thank you, Julie. Is there any discussion of the agenda? If not, we'll vote to accept this as the final agenda. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Just to reiterate, you can vote if you are a voting member, and you will have received a confirmation from Debbie Jackson if that's the case.
So I have 12 in the room, 11 on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And those opposed? Fran, are you voting in opposition? Yes, there's one opposed. Motion carries. Next, we'll have a discussion, the next steps for our work on affordable housing. And I know there are several people who are ready to speak to that, but first I will recognize Art Chippendale, who's a member of that committee. Give a brief statement about the work of the committee and its status and what he feels is important going forward. Thank you, Art.
Is this a microphone?
You can,
No, that's a camera.
yeah.
This device on the table picks up what you're going to say. Do you have Art on the camera? You consider stand as you like, Art.
All right,
You're good.
okay. Yes, I was on the Affordable Housing Committee for quite a while. I must say that I believe Morgan Brown was the original chair of that committee. And he and Diane Oberson both did a lot of work in that area. We discussed so many different things, from the history of housing on Vashon to where we are today, the need for affordable housing, and who we think really needs to benefit from affordable housing. And the conclusion there was that we needed more housing, particularly for people who work here on the island and have to commute back and forth from Seattle in order to keep businesses here on the island functioning. And that included the post office and some of those who worked at Bone Factory and at Thriftway and others, and many others who actually are who come here and were staying on the island, but didn't have their own housing available for them, but lived as a guest in someone else's house, and that sort of thing. So, of course, the Vashon household has done the major lifting, all of that. I'm on the board of Vashon House. And they have done so much over the years to create housing at Ernestine and they have, first of all, they have apartments available in several different places, and there's also homes that can be purchased at an affordable price. And there are hundreds of people who have benefited from that. The latest building, of course, is the Island Center Homes, which has approximately 40 units available for singles who are, it could be veterans, homeless, disabled. And the key to all of that rental housing is, and I believe that, I'm not sure this is true for every unit, but it is, you're obligated to pay only a third of what your income is. So if you have no income, you don't have to pay. But most of those do, and so it's anyway, it is a practice that's been going on for a long time. They've also established a home share program in which they allow, they basically do a kind of a meet and greet kind of thing between homeowners who want to have someone come live there and those who are interested in living or renting in a place where they can also provide some help to the homeowner. So getting back to the Affordable Housing Committee, I'm not sure, I believe it started in 2022. And Morgan Brown put together the programs there. They were mostly broad-based knowledge about housing, with a particular emphasis on affordable housing. And then in 23, at the end of 2023 or the beginning of 24, Morgan left the group in order to, I think, pursue his own housing project that he wanted to get off the ground. Terry Sullivan and I, both chaired or shared the chairmanship of that committee, from 24, not sure when that was, in 24 or something. Up through until the end of 2024. And one of the things we focused on was accessory dwelling units. We decided that if we could get folks to build accessory dwelling units, that would help solve the problem of affordable housing, and it would also benefit homeowners as well to have that. So it culminated in a workshop that we created along with Sue Gardner, who's a longtime member of the committee. So Terry and I and Sue Gardner basically put together this workshop that took place, I believe it was in April. I'm not sure exactly what the date was, but we had close to 250 people attending that workshop. So there is definitely a lot of interest on the island for accessory dwelling units. We haven't had a chance to meet together after that. But it's something that I think maybe Terry can speak more on that if he's here tonight. Or Sue Gardner's here. So anyway, that's the history of it. And there is a lot of support on the island. Vashon household garnered over $300,000 in their annual fundraiser this year from residents here on the island, homeowners, and that's been terrific. A terrific amount of support, and it just kind of shows that everybody seems to be aware of the housing crisis that we have here. If we're going to move forward as a community and as an island community, we need to make sure that there is housing here for everyone. And that doesn't mean that we are going to flood the island with new housing. But it does mean that as we grow economically, we need more affordable housing. And for various populations, the elderly, those who work and can't afford it, and those who are unable to work and can't afford it. So that's kind of where we're at this moment, and we want to continue with the idea of moving forward with affordable ADUs, and we will pursue that. I'm hoping that is Terry, are you here?
I didn't see.
Didn't see him on the list there, right, or Sue Gardner. So in any case, yeah, Vashon household is definitely on, on that as well. They would definitely be supportive of that, and I hope we can move forward on it soon.
Thank you. So to be clear, the Affordable Housing Committee is now suspended for lack of participation. Is that right?
Yes. So yeah, I think we maybe got into the weeds a little bit with people when we started talking about King County codes and all the technical issues that involves. We really wanted, as we built up to this this meeting, this workshop, we wanted to make sure that we had all of those things covered, everything from sewage to water to the land that's developable, and so it was. I think it was daunting for a lot of people, and a lot of people weren't, I think, really sure how to participate with this, and I don't think that we did them justice in terms of making them feel like they really participate. I feel like, I do feel as though, we kind of presented a lot of ideas. We listened to ideas, but we didn't we didn't build an organization around it. And so going forward, I think that that's the approach we should take.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Art here or on Zoom? Yes, Mr. Snell?
Like, yes, well, my biggest concern is how to get into this situation. You know, because I've been on this island long enough to remember when it was very rural and very affordable. And anybody that could just come to Vashon and live here, we used to get a lot of welfare type people here in the early 70s. The hippies came here because Vashon was, you know, they just come squat in the woods. And it wasn't a problem until around about 1980. And, you know, with the onset of Ronald Reagan and Booth Gardner in 1984, with growth campaigns and people advertising Vashon Island to the world. And, you know, and then, you know, by 1990, you know, the voters passed Chittendale Elementary School. We got the foot passenger ferry. And then about 20 years ago, I was at a meeting just like this one. There was about 50 people there, and there were Tom Banger and Elizabeth Powers who were there, and they were pushing for getting more money to move to Vashon. They got the Chamber of Commerce started, and then just a few years after that, Vashon passed the bonds for the new high school building. And, you know, all this stuff just adds up to gentrification and population growth here on the island. And now we're talking about what to do about housing. And you know, in the big picture, I just don't see how building more houses is really going to solve anything, because we've got this pressure and just this push to get more and more people to move here. I don't see any effort to stop that.
Thank you.
If I can respond,
Yes,
so I think you just described having that here in March Park. Historically. But the reality now is that we don't even have enough housing to support the businesses that we have established here. And unless we want to go back in time, you know, we can't really afford to have businesses fail here. It just, first of all, wouldn't be fair to the business owners, and it's not fair to the people here who already live here on the island. The population hasn't changed that much. I moved here in 1996, and when I came here, we had K2 skis, and we had Galley Fest Coffee. Most of those employed a lot of people. But when those jobs went away, then we lost a lot of people, and we started gaining more folks in terms of, I think we just started doing a lot more in terms of tourism. And I know, I mean, I worked at a couple of restaurants here, and you know, the summer months were just booming. And but those restaurants can't survive on just summertime alone. So it becomes, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And you know, so if you have people here who are working here, you need to have housing. I don't think we would want to build housing for people just so that people can move here. That happens on the speculative market. You know, people who they pick up some real estate, they refab a house, and there is no, what I'm trying to say here is there's a lot of inequity in the housing that's here. We have housing down along the shoreline, and up high on and bigger houses with bigger properties, and those are lovely, they're wonderful, but they don't benefit the people who come here to work And so, and they don't benefit, and for that reason, they don't also benefit from the businesses here. There are a lot of people who have property here who don't live here full time. And so, you know, we need to consider all of those factors as we move forward. It's not a simple solution.
Thank you, excuse me.
Yeah.
Amy, would you like to speak to this? I hope.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think art really kind of has encapsulated it, right? We find ourselves here, right? Regardless of where we got here, how we got here, we found ourselves here, except for to understand how can we address where we go from here. And as much as we all want to be the last settler through the gate, right? And like just roll up the ferries behind us when we get here, that's not the case. And gentrification is really sweeping Western Washington. It's not something that we can again, we cannot roll up the ferry boats and say, you know, no more, nor can we decide who gets to buy a home on Vashon. What we can decide is how do we provide affordable housing for the people who want to live on Vashon and who need affordable housing to live on Vashon, right? I think that is the one thing that we can control as a community from here on out is how do we provide affordable homes for the people who live and work on Vashon and for the people who live and work and support the schools and support Thriftway and support the gas stations, right? So that's really our charter at Vashon Household is to make sure, A, that we're taking care of, you know, the folks who need permanent supportive housing, right? Who simply need housing, right? Housing is a human right. It's not sort of something you earn. So, you know, we very deeply invested in that piece of our mission as well. And then the other piece is, you know, if we don't provide housing for the people who work at Thriftway, who work at the gas stations, right, who work at schools, essentially our community collapses, right? There is no there. So that's really the core of what we do at Household, and that's our vision for the future is capturing land and capturing property that will become permanently affordable for Vashon, so that we can do, you know, what we can do to kind of stem the tide. We cannot stop gentrification, we cannot stop migration, but what we can do is lock in affordability for as many people as we can moving forward.
Thank you, Amy. Amy, Vashon Household has done such amazing work and continues to. Do you have thoughts on how the Vashon-Maury Community Council can best be supportive of Vashon Household?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think, you know, you brought up the ADU summit that you did, and things like that are incredibly helpful, right? Public education is something that is maybe a little bit more achievable, a little bit more tackleable, right? From the sense of, you know, what can a group of volunteers do, which is amazing, right? That you just volunteer, step up to give your time to make sure that we're, you know, making Vashon continue to be affordable for our neighbors and for the folks who are aging here. But public education and making sure that the public education is accurate and that it's available, I think are two really huge pieces of the puzzle that are hard to do. And it's hard, you know, it's hard to get out into all of the different pockets of community on Vashon. It's hard to talk to all the different constituencies. And I think the community council has a real opportunity to, you know, educate and become a real sort of center of education, right? How if I want to know something about how to build an ADU, or I want to know something about my zoning, or I think, you know, the opportunity for the community council to become a brain trust, right? And then to disseminate that information and really facilitate, you know, private individuals being able to do their part to, you know, sort of address affordability, right? If you want to have an ADU, if you're trying to get a property tax break, right, for you know, senior or disabled, right, and you don't know how to get that property tax break. So I think that could be, I see that as something that the community council could really offer, is that sort of brain trust of affordability.
Thank you for that inspiration. Are there any questions on Zoom or comments on Zoom? Yeah, Meg?
Hey there, my name is Meg Thompson. I'm a new member, and I just wanted to speak both as someone who is very much within the target demographic of affordable housing and just recently experienced a housing crisis on Vashon that was pretty difficult to find a solution for. I just wanted to also just point out as another potential point of research for members of the council, and point to Telluride, Colorado as an example of a community that is a tourist destination because of the Telluride Film Festival, and like Vashon, is a very difficult place for people that work in the Telluride community to commute to. And Telluride has come up with a number of initiatives that have really solved their affordable housing crisis, including rapid building of affordable housing units that were specifically designated for employees of the Telluride community, updating municipal codes to allow different types of buildings that solve those problems as well. So just as far as like an example of a community that has solved this problem, I encourage people to do research on communities like Telluride that have found solutions that have actually worked, including what Vashon Household is doing. Like, it very much is in line with what they're doing. And but I just want to, as someone who works here on Vashon and works with youth in the community and is also a struggling single mom, finding housing here is really difficult. So I just wanted to also provide the human side of that this is a real problem for people that do work on this island, and whether that's in service industry, making your coffee or bagging your groceries, or working with your kids in youth programs. It is a genuine struggle that there are real solutions for. So I just wanted to insert that comment.
Thank you so much, Meg.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Are there other comments? Yes, Mr. Schnell?
I think you're missing the point that I was making. Just in the last few years, there was a Todd Pearson and one other guy that went to Washington State and lobbied to get the bigger ferry on the south end of the island. And since that boat got put there, noticed quite a bit more traffic, and it just pipelines more people to move here. This water taxi has been, I've been very disturbed by that for the last 35 years. And the amount of money that it goes into that boat, I've been opposed to it the whole damn time. And, that's bringing a lot of people to Vashon. And I'm not saying that, we're gonna just close the door and say you can't move here, but if we accommodate growth, you're gonna get growth. And you're gonna get more and more of it. And you can build your housing, but more people are gonna come here anyway. And in another 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, the population will be another 20% bigger. You're gonna have the same problems you have now, only bigger. And that's happening. You mentioned the gentrification of the whole Western Washington. Well, same thing. And there's a push to get more and more people here. Jay Inslee told us when he got elected, he wanted to get 1 million more people to move to Washington State. Well, that's just blatant. It's like, all y'all come to Washington State. And, and then during the Biden years, the borders were open, and we've got some like 400,000 migrants came to Washington State. And it's just, it's like we're doing it to ourselves. But we just get ourselves into this trouble, and then we put Band-Aids on it to try to fix it. It's like the problem is just, family size, immigration, people just wanting to move here for whatever reason. And we're doing it to ourselves.
Thank you for your comments. Mike?
I'm sorry, I moved here in 2001, so I've been here 24 years. I don't think that the overall population on Vashon has changed appreciably in those 24 years. I don't see I don't see a huge amount of population growth here. I like the fact that there hasn't been a huge amount of population growth, but I mean, the ferries are there, I think, for most of us to serve our needs. And I think most of the people on the island that I know wish there was better ferry service than there is now, or at least more dependable service than there is now. And so I just I don't get this train of thought. What I do get is that there are people here within our population, which is really stable, that can't afford to live here. And I think dealing with that is an important thing for us as a community.
Thank you for your comments, Mike.
I've lived here for 40 years and I have seen a lot of change, but it's been most recently in the last 10 years or so. I feel a lot of population growth. And since 1985, I've been here. But so you and I have different experiences. And one thing that could be done, perhaps, you talk about people having to come here from off island to work. How much depth do the institutions and businesses on the island put into looking for people to work for them that are already here? Rather than searching far afield for people. You know,
Can I, sorry,
yeah,
Please.
just from having spoken, right, with employers, with the major employers on the island. They desperately want to, their first goal is to hire people who work on the island. Because they are, you know, for so many reasons, one of which is you don't have to worry about them being late for missing the ferry. Right, so, you know, so that is absolutely their goal. What they cannot find are enough people applying for their jobs who have a stable situation to live on the island. Or they have folks who have been here and then they move off the island, right? And for many of them, their first question is, do you live on the island? Some folks say, if you don't have a home on the island, we can't employ you because you'll get tired of the commute essentially. So our experience with major employers on the island is that they sort of do look first for many reasons. For employees, it is difficult to find people at specific wage levels, right, to fit the jobs. And I did just want to real quickly comment on the idea that if we make Vashon less accessible, there will be less growth. There will not be less growth. What there will be is people with much more money who have the ability to overcome accessibility challenges, building and coming to the island. That's sort of the narrative line that we took when we talked about the boats, right? When we started talking about ferries and reliability of ferries, the unreliability of ferries and the inability to get to the island doesn't stop people from living here, because how nice is it, right? Who doesn't want to live on Vashon? It just makes it so that if you have enough money to pay a builder a lot more money to get on a boat, we'll do it, right? So that was kind of the logic that we came to around boat travel and accessibility on Vashon is, and we're already seeing it now, right? It's the people who can afford to deal with boats that are unreliable that will continue to live on Vashon, right? If you have to commute to your job at Costco every day and you simply cannot get there because of the boats, you will move on, right?
I don't know.
Thank you, Amy. Julie?
Thank you for your comments. I think there's probably, as you left out. I do know that some employers on the island try to help as much as they can. I think you can get very tickets from certain employers, I don't know who. But one thing you didn't mention is the living wage. When you're in a service industry economy, which I think it's fair to say this is, in our country, you're not going to see a living wage thing. No, I mean, I've had people tell me that $18 an hour is a living wage. No, it isn't. A living wage is something that would allow you, and I think this is even true in Seattle now. You're making a living wage if you're bringing in $100,000 a year, I think, maybe more. And I know that it gets tricky when you start throwing around terms like, what is the population? That's easy enough to determine because we have year round and we have summer. What is the living wage? You know, I mean, but look at the cost of housing. Look at the cost of an apartment. You know, I will never own a home on Vashon. You know, I'm going to die renting. And I moved, the last 5 years, I've moved 5 times. I think it's been, God, no, it's been a lot. There was a year there where I moved every 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm no spring chicken, that gets old and it's also expensive in its own right. I wonder sometimes, if we have a land trust, and and thank you, land trust, for letting us meet here. I don't know much about the land trust. But I appreciate that they are preserving green space, and that has many benefits for us. as a community that wants to be livable here. But I wonder about a housing trust. I wonder about, you know, I'm the kind of person, if I were an old lady by myself and I had my little house, I don't have children, should I leave it, I'd will it to an organization I had respect for that, you know, was gonna put somebody in who needed it. And I suspect there are a lot of people here like that. It's a question of getting people together and not hitting them with a whole lot of county land use issues. That just, I know you know that, that was the hard learned lesson, I'm sure. We have plenty of naysayers, plenty of people who are easily distracted by the weeds. But our issue is getting some space and getting the will together to keep people from having to live in their cars and die in their cars, thinking of someone in particular, we can do better. But it's a question of creativity. Why couldn't we have a housing trust?
We do have a housing trust.
Okay, is it?
Yeah, Vashon Household is a community land trust,
And
yes.
we can take homes,
Well, I beg your pardon, I'm here on.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
need to educate, obviously, I mean.
Yeah, no, but there hasn't been a concerted effort to recapture donations, land donations and home donations in that way. Vashon Household has not in the past really campaigned to do what you're kind of referring to as scattered site land trust, land banking.
Yeah.
In the past, they have not, we have not done that in the past.
So can you speak, and let me know if I'm.
No, continue, please.
Can you speak to how we can re-up?
Yeah, we, so Vashon Household, you know, we are very much invested over the next few years in basically growing our capacity and expanding what we do and expanding the kind of work that we do and expanding how we're providing affordable housing on the island and how we're sort of dovetailing with efforts like gentle infill, right, with ADUs kind of deal, and scattered site housing banking. The kind that you're talking about is absolutely something that we want to do. We're working on that within our staff capacity at the moment. One of the things we're working on doing is increasing our staff capacity. But you know, kind of as I mentioned, having a public education campaign and partnering with the community council in getting that knowledge out there around, you know, the land trust has got many decades on us in terms of letting people know that you can lock your land and your home into permanent affordability on the island, right? And there are tax incentives for doing that, right? There's all kinds of incentives that you can have for doing that. So a public education campaign is sort of the next step for us around that, but I think partnering with the community council and helping get that information out there would be fantastic.
And
Thank you, Amy.
County council, are they,
The
there's a whole homelessness fighting initiative, this opening
I would say that while we dovetail with homelessness and homelessness prevention, it's a little bit outside of Vashon Household's wheelhouse specifically. We do have Island Center Homes, which is one of, you know, many of the units are dedicated to people exiting homelessness. But we definitely, homelessness and homeless prevention is a little bit specialized. It's a little bit outside of a scope of what we can.
I understand.
Yeah, it's just, you know, we dovetail with it, it's a little bit outside of what we can, yeah.
Well, thank you both. We need to move on to other parts of the agenda, but I'm willing to give a little more time to this, but if it's focused on the question specifically of what next steps are for Vashon-Maury Community Council in affordable housing, if people have ideas about what we should do next, I'd like to hear about those.
Right. So I think that I'm positive that the community council should invest time and resources into reestablishing the Affordable Housing Committee. And it could work with Vashon Household in terms of doing some of that public education And I think that that would benefit everyone. So even if the committee itself is not going to establish any more housing, it's basically there to provide public information. And I think we could do that again. But as I've noted and she just noted as well too, it's not, can't be just focused on codes and you know, those sorts of things. It's got to be talking more affirmatively and with advocacy for creating more housing. That's what we need to do.
Thank you, Art. Well, I have a question for you and Amy both. To the extent to which either or both of the Affordable Housing Committee and Vashon Household have explored sort of out of the box, as it were, options like container housing or making it more possible for yurts to exist or long houses or any number of things that might be unconventional, but maybe a good fit for Vashon?
Well, I think there's a place for that. And the question is always about King County and land use. Comes down to that. I mean, there are a lot of things that King County does that restricts us in a lot of ways. I mean, people could be living in RVs, but you have to move it every 6 months according to King County. So there are ways, but you know, living in an RV is not permanent housing. Living in an RV is temporary. There's a place for that too, but it doesn't really move us forward in that regard.
Thanks. Did you want to?
I'd just like to say, just to counter what Mr. Snell had to say there. So in 2000, there were 10,023 people on Vashon. And now in the year 2000 and in 2020, there were 11,055. So it's grown by 10% over 20 years, which is not anything exceptional. You see what I mean?
Thank you, Art. I don't want this to devolve into an argument on that particular point. Amy, did you have anything to say?
I did just want to say too that, yeah, absolute policy advocacy is a really huge part of the solution, right? And getting King County to work with us a little bit on some more creative solutions. And again, you know, we're big fans of gentle infill and ADUs on properties that can provide revenue, can be locked into affordability permanently kind of deal. So I think policy advocacy, and you know, we're happy if you know, if we want to do specific policy advocacy with us, we're happy to either sort of share our agenda, you know, with the council around like, you know, this is exactly where we're going with Mosqueda's office right now to try to get this specific thing addressed kind of deal. We're happy to stay in contact with you.
Yes, please do keep us briefed on that. At a minimum, we can share that information with our membership and other people who are interested. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on Zoom? I'm afraid I have my back to it, so it's difficult for me to stay on top of it. Thank you. Very well. Thank you all for that interesting and constructive conversation. We'll move now to a brief introduction to introduction to V-MCC's 13 sectors, which I'll read through, and then we'll move on from there. I don't expect it to take long, but over the course of the next few months, we're going to be emphasizing and attempting to revitalize and build capacity over our organization's 13 sectors, which is an important part of the organization. The idea of the sectors is that each sector has one or more sector liaisons, and their role is to reach out to the islanders in that sector to encourage their participation and to amplify their voices so as to promote diversity and participation in our community council. The 13 sectors are established by our bylaws, and each of those has one or two or maybe three liaisons right now. However, some of those are sort of like placeholders, like I myself am on 4, I think, just because when I came into this office, I didn't think there should be these orphan sectors as there were, and I thought I could at least be a point of contact. But we really need people to step up to be sector liaisons if there's something that, if that's something that they're interested in. Right now, many of our sectors liaisons are board members, but that's not a necessity. We do have a few that are non-board member liaisons, and I'd like to see more of that. Over the next few months too, we're going to be exploring more training and giving more attention on how to be an effective liaison and to really revitalize this work so we can be more inclusive of the people in these different sectors. So that said, I'd just like to read through these right now and give you a sense of what they are and who our current points of contact are, if not liaisons, and some of them are liaisons. First of all, we have the diversity and inclusion sector. What's listed here specifically is Asian, Black, Indigenous people of color, Indigenous, Latino, Latina, race, racial equity, mixed race families, language barriers, diverse language speakers, LGBTQIA+, disabled, immigrants, etc. It's to promote diversity and inclusion throughout our community. And our sector liaison is our Vice President, Nicole Erica Anya, right here. Thank you, Nicole. The next sector is the quality of existence, having to do with, in part, affordable housing, homeless, unhoused, renters, landlords, wellness, healthy habits, food, activities, safety, low income and income inequality. Our liaisons are Jen Rakovic, Secretary, Doug Ostrom, Nicole again, especially for affordable housing and safety. The third one is business and workforce training, service industry workers, laborers and employees. I'm standing in as liaison, as I said, so that at least there's a point of contact, but I really need someone who's interested in business and workforce sector to be a liaison for that. So please get in touch if that's something you might be willing to do. Culture, art, history, and recreation. Our liaison is Ann Thorne, especially recreation. And given that, we could use other people who are interested in culture, art, and history and reaching out to Islanders who are involved in those domains to encourage their involvement and amplify their voices. The education sector, our liaisons are Jenica Anakar, our corresponding secretary, and again, Jen Rakovic. The environment sector, having to do in part with clean water, air, ground, land sustainability, and climate. Our council members, Kevin Jones and Steve Bergman. Spiritual practices, council member Doug Ostrom. And healthcare, another council member, Debbie Jackson, is our liaison. That has to do with health and human services, people with mental health issues, people with substance abuse challenges. It's a big area and we could use another liaison or two for that too, I think. Children and youth sector, including child care services, right now is held, the liaison position is held by Jessica Anakar again. And then three of them, seniors and elderly, including isolated adults and adult care services, veterans and commuters are all sectors that I'm listed because we didn't have anybody for those. So if you're especially interested in seniors and elderly, veterans or commuters, please get in touch with us, either any of us or at info@v-mcc.org and let us know you might be interested in learning how to be involved with being a liaison for those. And then finally, we have a sector on multi-generational islanders that Jessica Annaker is the sector liaison for. And that is our list. Are there any questions about this or comments?
JC, this is Ann. Just under
Hi, Ann.
children and youth, I'm still listed as a liaison, but Jessica took that one over.
Oh, thank you for that correction. Yeah, I thought I had corrected that. Oh no, children and youth, here I have Jessica Anakar as our liaison in the one that's in the agenda. Thanks, Ann.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions?
What,
Yes, Art?
so what are the responsibilities of those liaisons?
Fundamentally, it's to give 2 reports a year, like brief 5-minute reports to the board, briefing us on the status of the sector. And more broadly, is to try and do outreach to people who are part of that sector to encourage them to share their views and raise their voices and get involved with the council so we can be as diverse and inclusive as possible. We're still fleshing that out, and we'll be thinking more about that in the months to come. So if anybody, not just you are, but anybody has ideas about how we can be more effective liaisons, please do share them with us.
Sure.
I'll give a brief introduction to rules of procedure. As I said before, only members can vote. If you have recently joined, you will know your membership has been processed if you have received a welcome email from Debbie Jackson. Voting is determined by a show of hands. We follow good faith voting. So it's on the honor system. Only vote if you are indeed a member. You can make motions and amendments one at a time. Each of these requires a second to be considered. There's a thing called mover's privilege, such that the person who initially makes a motion has some latitude in accepting friendly amendments. And points of order are how we keep our parliamentary procedure on track. Someone can rise to a point of order at any time if you believe that the rules are not being followed or something is out of order. And I will perhaps suggest a resolution to that, or ultimately the council will decide on such matters. Are there any questions? We follow the democratic rules of order, you know, and again, there are copies over there if anyone would like to reference them. Our next order of business is appointment of Gary English to the Vashon Ferry Advisory Committee. Thank you, Gary, for coming here tonight and for volunteering for this position. Would you like to make a statement, Gary? And
certainly. Can you hear me?
yes, thank you.
Oh, good. Very briefly, I've spent the last 20-something years working in transportation businesses through the Seattle Fire Department as the major transportation projects person. So all of the big projects that work through Seattle are things that I have worked on for a long time. And I thought it'd be worthwhile for me to get involved with the ferry terminal project. For those who don't know, there is a major effort underway right now with WashDOT for the SR 160 Fauntleroy Terminal Replacement Project. And I can go into details on that if you'd like. We're actually kind of at an interesting point now because we just finished one of the major projects as part of that. And so at some time I can give you a briefing. Right now we seem to be running long, so I'll call it good. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Gary. Are there any questions for Gary? Nicole, could you bring up Gary's statement excerpt, please? Are there any questions or comments on Zoom? Well, first, I guess, is there a motion to, one moment, please. Is there a motion to appoint Gary English to the Vashon Ferry Advisory Council?
So moved.
Moved by Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Art. Art, you had something to say?
My question for Gary is, when is this Fauntleroy project scheduled to be finished?
It's an excellent question. We just finished what's called the PEL, which is the Planning and Environmental Linkages. That allows the project to move forward to the Federal Highway Administration and complete a bunch of preliminary work there. So it's going to be a couple of years before that's done. I think that the projection of the actual opening of a new terminal, and this is fixed in quicksand, is 2031.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
Yeah, I have another one.
Yes, Art?
What kind of interruptions can we expect as this project moves forward?
When they get approval to build, there'll be a whole design process, and it's probably one of the most difficult, what we call laydown areas that I've seen in any kind of transportation project. That is, there's really no space to do and bring in equipment and supplies and materials without taking out a chunk of the dock, or excuse me, of the terminal. So they are acquiring the small White House immediately north of the toll booths, but that's certainly not enough to do a lot of work because the new terminal is being proposed to raise 3 feet, and essentially the entire dock is being replaced. It'll be a massive undertaking on the part of WashDOT and their contractors to try and develop a process that minimizes the impact to traffic and the use of the ferries. And there's a lot of discussion. There's discussion about, I'll say there's discussion about changing the way the ferries are operated because it may be extraordinarily difficult to continue the current operation. What that will be is, as I said, fixed in quicksand. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on appointing Gary English to the Vashon Ferry Advisory Committee. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to vote in favor that's not able to raise your hand emoji? You have 19, 20? Oh, I see, 20. All those opposed? You lower your hands. Seeing none, the motion passes. Congratulations, Gary, and thank you again for your service in this regard. It's very important. And we'll,
yes, thank you for the vote.
I
I would make a request that in a future meeting that we do a quick briefing on where they are, because what you just heard is like 5 pages worth of 390-page document. So there's a lot of material and we can summarize it pretty quickly so you'll all have a better understanding what we're looking at in the next few years. So thank you.
Got it. We'll do it. And thank you for the offer, Gary. Good. Thank you all. We'll now move to new business. The first item of new business is the reading of our proposed calendar year V-MCC budget. And for that, I'll turn it over to our treasurer, Ann Thorne.
Hello, everyone. Basically, this is a, okay, you got the budget there, Nicole?
Nicole, can you shrink it to 50% so we can see the whole thing, please?
Yeah, is there any way for people to see the comments? I mean, I'll try to speak to them.
Yeah, for now, just maximize it, please, Nicole. Thanks.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Nicole. So this budget was certainly formed as off the basis of what we spent this year, and anywhere in the notes you'll see where things were increased this year over what was even originally budgeted initially. But that said, the expenses are stable. We're not adding expenses. The one thing, this year we didn't spend any money on Strawberry Festival. We were a small board and we didn't have the capacity to do that. We'd very much like to participate in Strawberry Festival next year. So that 200 and, I might have to look at my own copy just to follow this, but what that $225 is, I really want to bring attention to that. The line item on the 2025 carryover balance that's on line 46. Because, I mean, basically what you're seeing here is we can almost break even next year. Of course, that will leave us with no money to continue. But we're about to launch an online auction with all those gift certificates that were donated back in the Strawberry Festival in 2024. And so what I did was based on the value of the gift certificates alone, I assumed that we would get $1,000 of revenue, at least from those, and that's how you get that carryover balance for 2025. And you'll see then that we're just barely over budget for 2026. Did not put any money in here for donations, which historically has been a source of revenue for the council. This year we have not need donations. So
thank you, Ann. So this budget, you will see the bottom line, there is a slight deficit of under $100, but as Ann said, this doesn't include donations, and we will be having to do some fundraising, not only to cover that $100, which should not be too hard, but so that we'll have some money to operate on in the following year. Are there any questions for Ann about this proposed budget? This is just a first reading.
I've lost audio again, so people can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, if there are questions, perhaps one of us could address them, even if Ann's not able to due to audio problems. I was saying this will come up again next month at our annual meeting for approval. By our bylaws, it needs an initial first reading, so that's what that is tonight. Would you close it so I can see the Zoom attendees, please? Are there any questions or comments on Zoom? Very well, thank you for your attention to that important matter. We would like the council's advice on whether or not to have a council meeting on December 18th or to skip that one. I want to give you a little bit of context. The Land Trust is holding their own board meeting in November and December on the nights that we would usually have a council meeting. So we would have to meet elsewhere. In November, which is our annual meeting, we're going to be meeting at Lewis Hall in Burton, which is on the hill above the Burton Community Church. If we have a meeting in December, we would also have to have it elsewhere, and we do have Burton Hall reserved for that purpose if needs be. However, there are some other complications. Not only is it very close to the holidays when it's difficult to get people to attend, and as you know, it's been challenging for us to get a quorum anyway, but also the next board meeting will be on January 1st, and some board members are reluctant to meet then. The point's been made that if we skip the December meeting and the January 1st board meeting, we could take it in stride and continue a regular cadence of planning at the board meeting for the next council meeting. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a crunch to us. That said, it is entirely possible we could have the December council meeting and make adjustments for the board meeting, perhaps have it some other night. Board members had differing views on whether we should have it or not. And so I thought the best thing was to bring it to the council and get a read on your sentiment of whether we should go ahead and plan for a December council meeting or skip it in the spirit of the holidays and giving your hardworking board members a chance to sort of catch up and catch our breath about all this. So I don't know, are there views or comments on this matter?
This is Eric. I have my hand up. Can I speak?
Thank you, Eric. Please.
So I'm not 100% sure which way I lean, but I think skip is possibly my vote to your question. But I also wanted to say that the Methodist Church is available as a venue for us. I would need to double check the date, but we have large screen and Zoom capability, not dissimilar from the room that we're typically in. So if there is a favorable inclination to hold the December meeting, I can certainly check the church calendar to see if the space is available.
That's really great. Thank you for the offer, Eric. Definitely will follow up on that. And are there other suggestions or comments about whether or not we should hold the December council meeting?
Diane,
Nicole?
has a question.
Oh, yes, please. Diane, you say?
Yes, yeah, this is Diane, and I was just, I would welcome having the December meeting postponed. Although the January board meeting, if you're going to have a council meeting in January, you'll either need to set it up and discuss it at the December board meeting or not skip the January meeting. Otherwise, you might end up skipping the December meeting and the January meeting. So I'm not sure what the plan is for having a board meeting to be sure you have everything in order for the January council meeting.
Yes, thanks, Diane. You're exactly right. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear about that. The plan would be if we skip the December council meeting for the December board meeting to be planning the January council meeting.
Okay. Very good.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Yes, Nicole?
What's the say that we should have a meeting, even though it's right there on the holiday. I know it's difficult with scheduling and such, but I feel like it's important if anyone has any concerns that it's taken to the council, and that we should be prepared for the community.
Thank you, Nicole. Yes, Laura?
Yes, I'd be interested in having a council meeting on the 18th as well.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Are there other comments or questions? Other discussion? I'm going to consider that the default is that we will have a council meeting on December 18th. However, if someone would like to make a motion to skip it and that's seconded, then we can discuss it any further if needs be and come to a vote on it. Is there any such motion? Jen?
I move that we skip the December meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on whether or not we skip the December 18th council meeting?
Sorry.
Nicole, are you going to speak to this?
I heard you said it, so.
Very well, we'll move to a vote then. All in favor of skipping the December 18th council meeting, please raise your hand.
I don't know how to raise my hand. What's the
Not good. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do the thing where I can do the chat thing where I can.
You use the emoji button at the top of the screen and find where there's a hand and click on it.
It's under React.
Oh, under React. Thank you for that. But also, Jan, are you wishing to vote yes?
I vote not to have the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So that's. I didn't see anyone in the room vote.
3 in the room and 7 + 1 online.
Okay, 11 in favor, and all those opposed, that is having a council meeting? Please raise your hand if you're opposed to skipping the December council meeting. Please keep your hands up.
4 in the room and 1 online.
I don't see 4.
3 in the room and 1.
Okay, so 4 opposed. So the motion carries and we will skip the December 18th council meeting this year. Thank you. Next, we'll move into presentation on North End Ferry signage and loading procedures. Brought to our attention and will be presented by Laura Cerven. Laura, would you like to come up here?
Sure, where should I go?
Will you speak from the table or this podium, whichever you prefer?
Right there?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. So all of us have our individual experiences with life and with the ferry. And I was, on Sunday, September 21st, I waited in line for the 12 noon Southworth ferry. But because there were 7 vehicles parked ahead of me and another Southworth bound commuter that were either picking up people, 5, or in the wrong lane for West Seattle, 2. Both of us missed the Southworth ferry. I learned this because I could not see the lane for Southworth nor the green lights on the dock from where I was parked on 103rd. So first I got out of my vehicle and walked down to see the Southworth lane largely empty and the green lights. Then I went back to my vehicle and a few moments later walked down again, walking back up the hill, asking each person in each vehicle if they were going to Southworth. I advised the other Southworth bound driver in front of me that we should proceed around the 7 vehicles in front of us because none of them were Southworth bound. After we drove around the 7 vehicles and down into the Southworth lane, as the Southworth ferry was leaving, I talked to a dock worker. He informed me that the ferry system is responsible for the signage on the dock itself, but King County is responsible for the signage above the dock. So 2 days later, on Tuesday, September 23rd, I took pictures of King County ferry signage. So I have those pictures available for you. Yeah. So is this in the order I asked for? So this is, yeah. So let's look for the first one, which is the sign in the parking lot, the lower parking lot. You can see from a brief view, there's a lot of things going on. Yeah, so I'm looking for that sign that had been vandalized so that you couldn't read it in the lower parking lot.
Yeah. That one might not have made it in.
Okay, I have a picture of it. This is what it looks like, and I know you can't see it very well. But essentially it is been vandalized and is not very legible.
Laura?
Yeah, yeah, you can.
Thing or two.
Okay.
Can I hold this up so people in the room can see it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can move that to the main screen, Nicole.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
It's a little tricky.
Yeah, I see.
There.
Up and up.
You'll see that.
Can you read what it says?
Anybody like to
So.
close to
Yeah, and then
to describe it.
sure, and then that is just the sign, the way it appears now. And here's the sign in the upper parking lot. Yeah.
Not even readable.
Yeah, you can't read it very well, and it looks like it's been there for a while, you know, it's kind of worn.
Let's see. Can you zoom in on this?
So this is the
Please,
sign in
Nicole.
the upper parking lot. And of course, I looked in the lower parking lot for if there were any empty parking places. There were none. In the upper parking lot, there were 11 spaces available to park. So as you can see, just from those two pictures, they reveal very poor maintenance. Yeah, yeah. And dangerous traffic situations in other cases with other pictures, and inadequate and inefficient strategy for traffic. And JC and I discussed this, and what I look at is the overall effects. I've tried to see as many facets of things as I can. And this is just an anecdote, but because of my experience, I'm assuming that there are other cases and for other people, other situations where things could be improved. I'm kind of a new member of the council here, but I have a keen interest in improving the quality of life. And if I have to wait for the ferry, I find something else to do. You know, I've gotten used to the way things run, but it would be better if the ferry system was more reliable and more on time. You know, running vehicles in cold weather. There are just all these implications and ramifications of inefficiency that we don't always see, or we just don't want to deal with and we accept. So I try to see ways that things can be improved that would improve our quality of life overall in the environment, in having enough space, in having our time be productive, whatever those values might be. So that's why I've taken an interest in this. And I'm willing to contact an organization that JC suggested, the local services at kingcounty.gov, because the county is responsible for the signage from the dock up. It's just a ferry system responsibility for the dock itself, for the signage and so on. So one thing that, one picture that was brought up was the sign for pickup and drop off that was near the lower parking lot had been knocked down. It was in the ditch. Two of the posts that were on 103rd, and one of the posts, or was it one, on Vashon Highway that have been installed to control that corner, that turn right there onto 103rd, were knocked down, non-existent. And so the things are not being maintained by King County, and maybe some of the solutions for safety's sake and so on are not thought out enough to be to endure potential problems like running into them. And I remember too, when the chopper that came along and put the grooves in along the road, you know, and then the bicyclist objected to that, and so they stopped. And so some things that are done are unnecessary, I feel like. And if action is taken, maybe it should be more in the line of maintenance rather than new ways of dealing with it. You know, the roads on the island could be improved and so on. It's wear and tear on our vehicles. It has all these ramifications. So anyway, that's my presentation. And then I wonder if you have ideas about what could be done to improve the visual or awareness of people going to Southworth, so that 5 people that were picking up people and the 2 people that were bound for West Seattle, you know, so that the Southworth bound people know when to go on the dock. Because I couldn't see the lights and I couldn't see the lane. I had to get out of my vehicle and walk down and look, oh, there's all kinds of space in the Southworth lane there. You know? So I don't know. What do you think?
So Laura, if I understand this right, what precipitated this is you were waiting to load on Southworth. You were
Right.
Up at the top of the hill, the cars ahead of you were not moving, not moving.
Right.
So eventually you got out of your car and walked down and found that most of those cars were not even going to Southworth. Southworth had loaded or was in the process of loading.
Right.
And up at the top of the hill, the cars didn't even know they were supposed to pull around or something.
Right. You don't know if the people in front of you are dropping off or picking up or just in the wrong lane for Southworth or West Seattle.
So one thing we talked about was if there might be some sort of electronic sign up at the top of the hill saying, giving the information, Southworth is loading now.
Yeah.
So that people would know they have to pull out and pull around the cars that are parked in front of them, or maybe there's some other solution, but this loading procedure certainly wasn't working for you.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have to be an electronic sign. Maybe it could be a sign that said Southworth Ferry, proceed around drop-offs and pickups or something like that. But you can't see if you're up there on the hill, what's going on the dock. Yeah.
You also had concerns you spoke to me about that didn't bring up just now about the shortage of parking. This is part of the problem. There's no dedicated pickup and drop-off spots for much of the day. Parking is over full.
Right, there's no designated parking places in either the lower or the upper for drop-offs and pickups. And they've reduced the amount of times that you can proceed onto the dock for drop-offs and pickups too. So you're limited that way, and
Jen, did you have something to contribute?
No. Just connecting that you had an interest in speaking to somebody from the Department of Local Services and noting that Vashon Domingo was on. He's on.
Oh, good. So he's hearing
He was
it?
here last month. He's.
Oh, good.
Listening, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jen, and thank you for being here tonight.
And that is Vaughn Domingo?
Still Domingo.
Yeah.
Yes, Art?
I've often wondered if the road coming down parking on Hill should be on the right-hand side should be reserved for those going to Southworth. They would have 2 separate lanes. One is dedicated to Southworth and the other is dedicated to West.
In other words, the pull-off, maybe it's right by that steep slope, but in other words, have 2 lanes, one for pickup and drop off, and the next one over for people going to Southworth. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think they have to widen the.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
Drop off. You know, you could have 3 or 4 cars down there.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to get into the other lane.
Right.
Off the other, but so.
I wonder if there's more room on the other side that the road could be expanded on the other side, which would be the west side of 103rd, and then have 2 lanes, one for drop-off pickup and one for Southworth. I don't know.
Mike?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Lane expansion.
One observation, one suggestion.
Yeah.
The observation is that, much to my surprise over the last few months, I've seen a ferry worker at the bottom of 103rd asking people in their cars what was going on and directing people places. And so if someone has told you that, I mean, either that guy was, way out of his jurisdiction, or it may just be the question of, do the dock workers that day take the initiative to come all the way to the end of the dock?
I bet they did. I bet they did.
So
yeah.
My other suggestion is this. Having spent a lot of time professionally working with county and state road departments, I wouldn't waste your time trying to figure out what the solution is. Because those guys know what all the rules are, what all the parameters are. And no matter what you suggest, if they decide it's a problem, they're gonna come up with their solution.
And this is the road, tell me again, the exact
Well, it's the
agency,
county road.
county road. Mm-hmm.
And it
Commission.
seems to me that if you would spend your efforts trying to get the attention of the county roads people, trying to get them to come down and meet perhaps with some council members and board members at the intersection, discuss the problem.
Yes.
That would be more profitable to you than spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get ahead of the 8 ball.
Julie, did you have something to say?
And it's been taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Diane?
Yes.
That's a great
thank you.
idea to meet there.
So I, from what I've heard, you ended up in the same line as the people who were going to West Seattle. Is that correct?
Yeah, there were 2 people. I talked to each driver in all of those 7 vehicles, plus the guy that was going to Southworth that was parked directly in front of me. And they all answered why they were waiting there. And the other factor that comes into this is with the ferries not being on time, you know, if the ferries were always on time, you would know, okay, I'm going to go down to the dock now, but they're not always on time and you can't see the lanes. So yeah, that feeds
Okay,
into that.
So whenever I go to Southworth, I'm taking, Vashon Highway and I get to 103rd and there's a big sign that says, if you're going to go to Southworth, go here, and you go past the parking lot and you go right onto the Southworth lane. And if you miss the 103rd, there's a second sign that says Southworth, take a left here. So I guess did you do that? Did you end in the Southworth lane? But you said you couldn't see it. If you take the sign, if you go past the big parking lot at the upper parking lot, you can't miss the Southworth sign. The lane that you're supposed to go into for Southworth.
Well, but because there were 7 people parked ahead of us, the assumption would be that they were Southworth bound and that the lane on the dock was full for Southworth. That's what I was assuming. And so that's why I actually asked each person ahead of us. They weren't moving. They were parked there. And so that's why the other gentleman and I missed the ferry, because we didn't know in time to go down onto the dock. And yes, the sign up there
too far away.
Was knocked down and it was in the ditch. There is a sign directly across from the lower parking lot that should have been standing up, but I have a picture of that. It was knocked down and it was in the ditch. So that's a maintenance issue. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that
just trying to
sign directly across from the lower parking lot. There it is. Good job.
Thank you.
Ferry passenger drop off and pick up parking lot. There's no there were no places in the parking lot. There were 11 in the upper parking lot, but none in the lower parking lot. There's no sign saying drop off and pick up, park here. None.
No, there aren't. But there are signs for Southworth.
Yes.
With what now?
She said there are signs for Southworth.
Right. But how did I know that the 7 people ahead of me were not going to Southworth?
You wouldn't have, you're right.
Until I asked them. Yeah. And then it involves going around them in the other upcoming traffic lane. So
the traffic lane for people unloading from the boat.
Pardon?
Okay. Thank you. Never mind. Thank you very much. I just wanted to try to get some clarification on that.
Thank you, Diane.
Yeah, the Southworth Lane on the dock was not full, but I couldn't see that from where it was parked. And neither could anybody else, except for maybe the one first and second car that were down there on the bottom of the hill. They could probably see the green light and the Southworth Lane that was not full. But everybody else up from there could not see that. There's trees in the way, which is okay.
Eric?
Yes, there's a, hi Laura, good to hear your voice.
Hi.
There's for many of us who've experienced the situation of going down Southworth Hill, either to load onto the boat or to pick somebody up, it's really kind of crazy these days. And
yes,
to go around parked cars, given the way people park and how there's not much shoulder, is dangerous because you don't know if an offload is coming. It's really tricky business. So what I'm curious about is, what is the best course of action here? Is it to King County? And I don't think it's just about signs. There's a real traffic crunch problem. So we have our ferry committee guidance person appointed, but it sounds like his jurisdiction ends at the dock. So do we have a King County liaison person for this kind of thing, so we could defer Laura's concerns that we as a community share into a county level conversation in some way? Is there an action step, or do we just wring our hands and fret and say fairy follies and live with it?
well, the email address I was given by JC and others here was localservices@king-county.gov.
Yeah, excuse me.
yeah.
So, Bong, are you with us? Would you like to weigh in on this?
Yes, I'm here. I'm typing it in. I also typed the 24/7 roads hotline, and you show the photo of a sign that's down, but if nobody reports that, the roads will probably not know about it.
Yeah.
Because they don't go around looking for those things unless somebody reports it. But I did post it on the chat line. So there is a 24/7 hotline. So any sign that you see that's down, roads will come out and look at it and fix it, especially if it's a stop sign.
So,
yeah.
Bong, does that also apply to vandalized signs like Laura was showing us photos of?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And have you yourself experienced the traffic congestion? Have you ever gone, I suppose, from Vashon over to Southworth and seen what the situation is on that hill?
I've never gone to Southwood. I always go to Fauntleroy. And I think I got used to it. The traffic, the crazy traffic for me is West Seattle, just waiting for the ferry, because sometimes it goes past the tennis courts. So, but also the if you want to ask anything about King County, it's Ask Local Services at kingcounty.gov. I typed that in. Yeah. And
I'll send pictures.
You can write down there your issues with that traffic and see if it's a roads issue. Because okay. Because roads is part of our division.
Okay.
We do maintain unincorporated roads in unincorporated King County.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Bong.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Bong Sto Domingo.
Anne, did you have something to say?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll lower my hand now. They have started using their megaphone, the ferry workers, right, to announce when they're loading boats. And I'm just wondering, I too have not been in the Southworth line for a long time, but I'm curious if, like, I hear them announcing Fauntleroy, because that's typically where I'm going. But I'm wondering, are they also announcing the Southworth boats? And if they are, can you hear it if you're up that hill, or do you have to be down? Because I think that's one of their mechanisms for trying to alert people to when boats were loading.
I am aware of hearing announcements for Fauntleroy, but not for Southworth. And I don't know whether people up on the hill could hear it or not, especially if they have their windows closed, whether it would be audible at that distance.
Right. Yeah, me either. I'm just asking the question. I don't have an answer, but it seems like something else that I guess it falls into whoever was saying, you know, present the problem and they'll figure out the solution. But I think the ferry workers maybe there's some audible mechanism they can use that will help people.
Yeah, I wonder if there's speakers at the very end of the dock, at the bottom of the hill there, whether there are speakers mounted there or whether they're mounted closer to where the boats are. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
Does anybody know for sure who manages and owns the parking lots? Is it county roads or is it the ferry system?
I think the parking lots are managed by King County. Yeah.
That makes it easier.
Is that right, Bob?
I'm not sure. What parking lot are we talking about?
There are parking lots on the hill up above where the Southworth loading is.
On 103.
The ferry
not sure.
park and ride.
It's for, commuter parking, the upper
Oh,
and
the
lower
park and
lot.
ride?
Right.
Yeah.
Park and ride, yeah, that's Metro.
Well, no, these aren't park and ride.
Is it park and ride? What is it?
No, these are just the parking lots for commuters.
Oh, I'm not sure.
This sign says Vashon Ferry Commuter Parking Lot Rules and Regulations. It's been vandalized and it does have, I think, the King County, yes, it has the King County logo and King County written on the sign. So I'm assuming that King County is responsible for that signage.
Yeah. Not just the signage, but the whole situation.
The whole lot.
The whole situation. Yeah.
So we might drive over sometime. I might really suggest Bong and look at those parking lots and see what kind of shape they're in.
Yeah.
If you'd be so kind.
I'd be glad to meet with you, Bong, if you would like.
Oh, great. Well, you two be in touch.
Okay.
Thanks again, Bong.
Thank you.
I know there are a couple of announcements, but first I'll just see if there are any community input or questions. Do we have a few minutes left? Okay. Thank you, Laura.
And also there's an article about Ferry Follies by Dave B. in this month's Loop.
Okay,
which may or may not have anything to do with what I was talking about.
Thank you for your presentation, bringing us to our attention, Laura.
Certainly, thank you, Dixie, and thank you for, considering this as something to do with.
Are there any questions or community input at this time? Very well, for announcements, I know, Anne, you have an announcement about the auction.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we haven't figured out exactly the date when this online auction will launch, but it will be soon. So we are, we have a lot of island business gift certificates that are all wonderful things from pharmacy and restaurants. And it's really our main source of fundraising right now. So we're hoping those of you who are here, will you spread the word, and we will put some posters out, and people can start bidding on items, and we'll probably have it open for about a month or so. But the idea is you know, people can use these certainly for holiday gifts, or they can use them themselves and support the council at the same time. So if you would help spread the word, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Eric, actually, I'm going to recognize you, Eric, under new business. Would you like to please tell the council what you come here tonight with?
Do you want me to speak now as new business or as announcement?
Yes, please speak as new business.
Great. The Vashon Island School District is mounting a grant proposal with Washington Department of Commerce for solar and storage at Vashon High School. The grant program opened a couple of weeks ago and is going to close November 4th, and we're working with the school district and interim superintendent. We, being Vashon-Maury Climate Action Group, are providing support to that effort. And there's a community engagement 5 points available in the scoring. And so I look forward to announcing this to you tonight and saying in future meetings, whenever they might be, we will do a briefing and seek community feedback on what the disaster preparedness implications are for having solar and storage at the high school and how that fits into the broader island plan. So stay tuned. When we get together again, hopefully we'll have a point on the agenda to give you full details and invite some guests that might contribute further. So looking forward to it. So glad we have this council as the place to start community engagement.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes.
So as I understand it, the school district's applying for a grant to have solar panels and battery storage at the high school to promote resilience. Is that the gist of it?
Yes.
And also you had mentioned that it would be helpful for you to have a letter of support from the council. Would you like to make a motion to that effect? That the council should give its support and ask the board to draft a letter of support?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been seconded by several people, including Laura, Julia, and Mike. Is there a discussion or questions for Eric? Laura?
Do you know where the solar panels would be mounted?
No, we do not. When the high school was designed, there was the idea that eventually solar panels would be placed on the roof, but we don't know yet if that will be the location.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Is there any discussion, pro or con? Very well, we'll move to a vote then. All those in favor of the board drafting a letter of support for this project, that this grant proposal that Eric has described?
Point of order.
Yes.
We need to wait until next week.
No, I think it's, let me put it this way. That's a good question. It's a substantive matter, I suppose. But the deadline is November 4th for the letters of support. So let's do it this way. Would someone move that we suspend the usual rules so we can pass this tonight? If we do, in view of the immediacy of it?
I move that we suspend the usual rules.
Okay.
So that if this is an emergency.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there discussion to whether or not we should suspend the rules so we can vote on this tonight?
Yes, there is. This
Okay,
is
please, Diane.
We have, in the bylaws, we have a way to vote on something like this if it's, if the timeliness requires us to do it. And it requires us to have more than a simple majority voting for it in order to bypass the 1 month notice. So we're okay. It's fine.
So that would be a 2/3 majority, is that right, Dan?
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to check the bylaws, but I think that's what it is, just a 2/3. Someone could check the
Okay.
bylaws on that.
That's what
But
I
there-
have in mind.
But it's set up to be able to handle situations like this.
All right. So all those in favor of suspending the rules so we can vote on this tonight, please raise your hand.
I voted in the chat.
Okay.
8 plus 7.
And I voted to support.
So that's 15 in favor and all those opposed? Not opposed, so it's unanimous, so that gets past the supermajority requirement. So now, is there further discussion on whether or not we should ask the board to write a letter of support for this grant proposal? Very well, move to a vote. All in favor of supporting this through a letter of support, please raise your hands.
Eight plus 6.
Okay, 7 plus 6, is that right, Jim?
7 plus
13, 4.
7.
7 plus 6, 13, all those opposed?
Oops.
I don't see any opposed. So that motion passes, and Eric will be in touch about that letter of support.
And,
Thank you very
and
much.
let it be known that the Vashon-Maury Community Council can be nimble when it needs to be. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Are there any other items before we close for tonight? Any other announcements? Very well, thank you all so much for being here tonight. I will, and staying with it, those of you who have, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. When we say Evan moves to adjourn, and is there a second? Julie seconded. Is there discussion? If not, we'll move to immediate vote. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. Seven plus 4 at least, 5. Thank you. All opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes and we are adjourned. Thank you again.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody on Zoom. Thanks for showing up.